Hey, what's going on? So, it starts off with a little sewer fly. See it right there? And it's pretty small, okay? Maybe like that small. And it looks like a baby moth. It's black. All right. Now, there's other ones too that look like large, darker fruit flies, and those are different. But these guys, um, that's what they look like in a sink. So if you get up in the morning and you see this around your sink or in your bathtub, and there's just one or two, run down to the basement first and see if there's a toilet or a sink that you haven't been using in months, or in the attic if there's a sink that has been used in months. It could just be that the trap is dry. So fill that up with water and then give it another day. But they're still coming up, and you start seeing them. Then all of a sudden, you see them around your windows. Look at these little things. A lot of focus, but that's how big they are. And you could just Google sewer fly, moth fly, and drain fly, and you can see what it looks like close up if you want, like nice photography. I'm not here for that. Okay, you want nice photography? Find it. All right. I'm going to tell you about the flies and what's going on here. So look at that, and you see that. That's a lot of flies. Now, a couple things you want to think like a fly. So whenever you see an issue, you want to look up you want to look up how the fly lives, and you'll find out that this particular fly has a gestation period of like 18 to 22 days. I do a lot of different stuff, so I'm thinking this was about 8 years ago, this particular case, and I think it was, I'm going to say 19 days just for the hell of it. And so every 19 days they get a new offspring. But there's another very important key factor about these flies. They have to have a certain temperature. And if I'm not mistaken, this one was like 81.5 degrees. So naturally, you might not see them in the winter. If you see them in the winter, they're in your house under your slab. Now, a lot of times they're underneath the slab. And how do they get underneath the slab? Well, first of all, they need food, which could be your feces from your toilet and your garbage disposal food. Okay, they also need temperature. Okay, so if you only have cold water, maybe not going to happen because you know um, the ground temperature is like what, 50ish. Cold water temperatures 50, 60ish, right? Remember I said this one needed like close to 80. So there's got to be some hot water involved. So once there's hot water involved, well, then you got to think, well, what's going on? Are they in the sewer, or are they coming up from the city? Yeah, they could be coming up from the city and going up in your house, and that's why I said fill the traps. However, if it's in the wintertime and you see these things, they're not going away, and they go away and you vacuum them up and then they go away. And then all of a sudden, 17 days later, there's a bunch more. You got a sewer break. And a lot of times it happens when you have a sewer storm line break, let's say storm mixed sanitary, whatever, wherever the hot water is going to excellently go into or properly go into, that hot water leaks out, and that gives them that temperature. And if they're underground in the slab, it can hold that temperature enough to what they got to do. And so here it is, you know, it was underneath the slab, and the sewers were broken. It was the middle of the house, and sometimes I've had case studies where we had to go underneath the whole house and tunnel. Up in Euclid, we did one once. It was a $60,000 repair. We actually tunneled underneath the house to replace all the pipes because they had hydronic heat. So if you get heat in the ducts, in the slab, that gives these guys their temperature. Or the water from the dishwasher will do it. So if you do a dishwasher load every night, and that leaks and then it breaks because you got a broken pipe somewhere, and that hot water just sits in there and it keeps, it's insulated by the soil and the slab and everything else. It's perfect. So that dishwasher load leaking water. So you got something leaking, okay? And it's underneath your slab, usually. Now, I've done these cases where these were in driveways, and it was only in the summertime, but not in the winter. Well, that tells you maybe that the break's outside. So you always got to, whenever you have a problem, don't just call anybody. First research it, and then once you research it, it'll give you tag words to look up new stuff. Then you look up those stuff. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. And I remember, let's say 37 years ago, somebody would ask me a question. There'd be, let's say, pill bugs in the basement, right? And they're like, well, you're an expert witness. Can you figure it out? And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I could do pill bugs. I had no clue. And so I studied pill bugs before I went out there for like 4 hours. Found out where they grow, what they like, da. You know, they sent me a few pictures, and they show up, and there they are. The whole base was full of them. And then, of course, I asked them, does it happen after a rainstorm? Yeah, it does. And, you know, you knew exactly what to do. And then you knew that what happened was the builders scraped all the topsoil, cut all the trees down. And it was a very wet area. So when it got wet, the bill pugs had nowhere to go. They were drowning because he didn't put any, they grew, you know how you go to a new house and they take the topsoil off, they spray that crappy stuff on the ground, and grass tries to grow and it never does, and you got to keep adding grass for the next 10 years of your life. Well, they took this topsoil away, and that's a little buffer zone for these guys. If the clay doesn't hold water, so it flooded, boom, they went in. What? I'm getting off the topic here. Oh, by the way, you know, if you can't figure out your problems, and your guys can't figure out your problems, or you know what the problem is, but you just want another opinion, or even maybe possibly, you know, you got ripped off because the granite countertop was cracked and you want somebody to read some correspondence, I do have a service. It's just Google, call Marco with a question. My name is Marco with a K. Call Marco with a question. You can also Google me, Clevelandmarko, one word. You can find me anywhere you want. And there is a service I charge. It's $29. And for 15 minutes, sometimes it's longer, you know, half hour, whatever. You know, I'm not greedy. I'll try to solve your problem for you. And I enjoy this. It's very fun for me to try to figure stuff out. And I'll tell you what, I figure most stuff out that people can't. I've been doing this for 40 years, 18,000 inspections. I'm an engineer, author, so licenses in all kind of disciplines, mostly environmental. So, oh, by the way, I do have some, I'm not done yet, some links below. A lot of times the links below pertain to the video. Another thing is, when I have links below and you want to buy something from Amazon, just use one of my links. I appreciate it. And just punch in what you want. And it should go to my site, and I get like 1%. And that helps me. I'm not going to beg you for money. But if you buy a couple things, you want to buy something on Amazon, just get it for me and give me, or you know what, start your own Amazon associate and pay yourself. But it's not a lot of money. Okay, here we are. We're digging out, we're cutting out the slab. And you can see here where this is in the bathroom area, and there's rusting here too, right? So, which also tells us a whole other issue. I mean, why is the box rusting? Well, underneath the bathtub, they didn't pour the concrete, so there's obviously high vapor pressure goes to low vapor pressure, so we got a whole other problem too, a water moisture problem getting underneath the slab. And I have lots of videos on that, okay? So here's where we did the repair, and look at what a bummer. We had to cut our pipes and dig the, jackhammer. Jackhammer's in your house, man. Somebody brings in a jackhammer, it's not cheap. And, I'll just end it here. This is kind of a cool, I figured this out. When I started doing these sewer things about 20, 30 years ago, when I figured this out, I get a lot of calls, but a lot of people just watch my videos, and I cut myself out of a lot of work. But whatever, hey, it's all about helping people. You go on your roof, all right, and you'll see these flies coming out of the pipe. And when you see them coming, they start jumping on the roof, and they're really horrible movers and bad flyers. And you'll see them on your roof jumping around. Well, you know that they're following the sewer now and the drain. So that could be, it's broken, and that's their least path of resistance coming up. But if there's cracks in the drain and your slab is settled, I had a house where the soil underneath the slab, it always settles. They're going through that whole area. And they had slab heat, so there was perfect temperature there, and they would come up through the walls and through shrinkage cracks and through outlets. So, but you always go on your roof and see if they're coming out of here. So anyways, hey, thanks for coming on. And oh yeah, real quick, I was just talking about this. I might as well let you know about this. If you have a slab house, and this is for a lot of things, your soil, this particular case, they put stone down, right? And a stone, and they put it on clay or whatever, and if it settles and it's not completely, what happens over years, things consolidate. That's the word. They don't compact it. So you could have a half an inch, I've seen 3 inches below slabs, and sometimes it's so bad the slabs crack, and then the walls crack. Then you got to call those people up to to fill it with mud jacket or pump it with grout and lift it, concrete lifting. And that's a problem too, because then I've had cases where they would do that and it would go into the ductwork or would lift part of the house up and cause all kind of new problems, tight doors, broken windows. And so sometimes this little gap underneath your slab, if your ducts come up through the slab and they're not sealed right, you're going to be communicating to underneath there. That could be another reason why you have condensation on your windows. You have musty odors, mold in your attic. And so you want to make sure the ducts, the heat ducts, HVAC supply ducts that come through the slab, if you have those, that they're sealed, that there's no gaps underneath your slab. So I just want to throw that in there since there's a picture of that. And so, yes, jackhammering concrete is expensive. So, hey, thanks for coming on.